All right, welcome back to Turbo Garage. So today we're going to be carrying on with the Suzuki Carry Rescue and rebuilding of this little engine. In the last video, I dropped off all the parts to the machine shop. All the new parts have arrived, and today is an awesome day because today we're going to start assembly because I just picked up all the parts from the machine shop and it's go time. So let's get right to it. All right, we are ready to put this engine together. This is hands down the most fun. Looking at everything all clean, new parts, ready to assemble. So let's start. Brand new water pump here. The bottom end of the motor that holds the mains, I call it a girdle. All the bolts for that, along with the dowels. New main bearings, new rod bearings, new thrust bearings. The engine has been bored out 50 over. The crankshaft here has been all polished. We've got new piston rings 50 over, new pistons, along with the wrist pins 50 over. Got the keepers for the wrist pins here. Brand new connecting rod. There's the two old connecting rods. The head, it is all machined up, ready to lap in the valves. They're all clean, ready to go. New timing guides, timing chain, timing tensioner. The flywheel's been resurfaced. Throw-up bearing is new. New clutch. The camshaft caps, they're all cleaned up, ready to go. New pilot bearing there for the flywheel and head bolts. Now, one thing I did manage to, it's pretty easy to do. I lost these little valve keepers. They're called valve collets, but anyway, I lost one. So I bought a couple of them because, you know, putting those springs in, if the thing springs, I don't know where it went, but they're pretty easy to lose. There's the part number right there for the K6A engine. I got it at my local marine store for Suzuki engine. They're in a few other vehicles as well. I think you can probably get them on Rock Auto if you put that part number in. But I just went to my local dealer that sells Suzuki and got those. And then, of course, I've got the timing cover and the oil pan all cleaned up. So let's get into this. The first thing we're going to be doing is putting the crankshaft in, so getting our main bearings and everything and checking clearances. All right, so I've got the engine turned upside down. First thing I'm going to do is open up my main bearings here and we'll start dropping these in. So for the main bearings, there's two different types of main bearings. One has got a groove in it, one is solid. The one that has got the groove is the one that goes in the block. Put my dowels in. These are your guide dowels for your girdle. Put that out of the way. And this one has got the solid ones. Now this is interesting. This does not have a tab knocked out like all the other ones. All right, so I just grabbed the old original bearing and it is different than the other ones. And looking at the material in the bearing, it's actually very good shape. I may actually have to, as much as I hate to, I'm gonna have to reuse this because this bearing is different. So anyway, let's just put this together. We'll stick that in there like that. So that's all the bearings in. And now what we'll do is we'll drop the crank in with some assembly lube and put some plastic gauge on these journals and drop it in. Okay, I'm not too sure if you can see this, but I've put a little bit of plastic gauge. The assembly lube is holding it in place. There's one on every journal. So now what we'll do is we'll just drop this on top of the crank and we'll bolt it down. I'm not gonna bother torquing it. I'm just gonna get it like tight. All right, so with those bolted down tight, the next thing to do, obviously, remove them, remove the girdle, and then we're gonna measure the plastic gauge. All right, so with that taken apart, what we do now is we look at how much the plastic gauge got squashed, and we compare it against these lines here. And this goes anywhere from 1/1000 to 3/1000 of an inch. The ideal is 1.5 thousandths of an inch for this engine. The max is 2. So let's just have a look here. That's like 2/1000ths of an inch. That's 2/1000ths. That's 2/1000ths. And that's 2. Yeah. Yep, it looks like it's 2, maybe and one of them a little, just a hair higher than 2/1000ths of an inch. So it's definitely the top of the tolerance, but I'm okay with that. They're all the same more or less, so that's good. So the next thing that I'll do is I'll take the crank back out, I'll clean all the plastic gauge off, and then what we need to do is put some RTV silicone all along the outer edges of this and bolt this down permanently. Okay, I decided the next thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to check the clearance on the bearings on the connecting rod, because if there's an issue with the clearance, I'm going to have to deal with this crank, and there's no point in permanently installing it in here. So I'll check it now. So the thing to note, I've got it sitting right now, the crankshaft, the way the engine sits. So this being cylinder number 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3. The water pump is on the exhaust side of the motor. And the one thing I learned is on these, let's see if you guys can see this. Those letters that are on there, it says 2N. That is on the intake side of the motor, which also there was an arrow, I believe. Yeah, this arrow points to the intake side. But anyway, you want to make sure that this is orientated the correct way on the rod, and that you've got the correct connecting rod. And from when I took this apart, I don't think you'll see it on camera, but there's one pot mark that I put in there with a little center punch to signify number 1. And the other one that I have here has got 3 pot marks in it. That's for number 3. So we're just going to take this apart. Pop our bearings in. What is going on? Well, that is weird. Well, people, we've got a problem. The tabs on these bearing shells are on the wrong side of the bearing. That is very strange. For both sides. So yeah, I must have the wrong bearings. That is very strange. Let's pause here. Okay, so while I'm waiting on some information on these connecting rods, the next thing I do is work on these valves. So I'm going to start by lapping these valves in. This is cylinder number 1, 2, and 3. So this is intake exhaust on my valves. This is number 1. So we're going to start with the intake valve. I've already got these cleaned up. So all we're going to do is put a little bit of lapping compound on the valve. It's probably way more than I need. Let's get rid of some of that. So yeah, a little bit of lapping compound. Just want to lap these in. So with the valve in, all we do is take our suction cup, put that suction cup on there, and start lapping the valve. Back and forth like that, lift it up and go about a quarter turn, and reset, and just keep going around like that. Lift up, go a quarter turn. Pop the valve out, wipe off your lapping, and have a close look. Have a close look at the valve. See if there's any pits on the valve anywhere. It looks pretty good. And then we'll wipe off the seat. Right, next thing is take some bluing compound. Put a little bit of bluing around here. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then smear it around with your finger so it's nice and evenly covered all the way around the valve. Then I put the valve back in the head. I would hold the valve with my thumb or finger and then rotate the valve a little bit. You can. Just spin it a little bit. Then just push the valve out. And what you want is a nice clean, see if you can see it on here. If you rotate that valve around, you can see there's a nice clean groove all the way around where the bluing is off. And then for the head, right there, the bluing is nice and even all the way around the seat. So that valve is done. And I'm just gonna go around and lap every valve. All right, so I just finished the last intake valve. This last one, it had a pretty deep pit on this exhaust valve. There's actually a little bit of rust. You can see a little on here. But so it took quite a bit of lapping to get this one. Not bad, but it's better now. It's definitely got a good coverage on the seat. The only thing that now will happen is if that goes in a bit farther, I might have to grind that shim down on the other side that rides on the camshaft, but we'll get to that later. Actually, let's get the camera down here. I'll show you something. Just wanted to show the difference with the seats. Getting here a little closer. You can see the intake ones here, how it's sort of got like a matte finish. And these are the exhaust valves seats. So anyway, I'll do those next. But you can see the difference. You can see where the lapping has cleaned them up real nice. Same with these ones here. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll do one valve here and one exhaust valve, and I'll show the difference. All right, I wanted to show you this valve up close. Try to get the camera to focus. You can see where it's lapped in the center of the seat there. Typically on an exhaust valve, you're gonna find pitting. This valve is actually really good. Where the pitting seems to be on the seat. So let's show you that. Get my flashlight. If you look here, let's see if I can get it on camera, right there. You can kind of see all those little tiny pits. That's typically what you're gonna find on an exhaust side, little pits. So you get around here. There, you can really see it there. So I'm gonna keep lapping until those are gone. That's what you wanna have, is a fairly clean seat. All right, so I just hand lapped it for about another minute. And there you can see that is nice and even. There's no pits anywhere. That's exactly what you want. Again, now you can see the difference between the two seats. So I'll blue that valve and carry on with the last 5, and this head will have all the valves lapped. All right, so all the valves are lapped. They're all blued. They all look good. The next thing to do is install the valve seals. So it's really important before you do your valve seals that you install these little, I don't know what you call them. They're a spring seat, I guess. These will slide down over top of your valve guides, but your valve seals don't fit through this hole. So you have to make sure that these go on first and they go with the rounded side up. So yeah, drop these all on, and then we'll put the valve seals on. All right, the next thing to do is the valve seals. So I've got a little tool, a little kit that I bought off Amazon a while ago. It's got different interchangeable little ends on it here, little guides. But the thing that's nice is they're recessed. So they push on the shoulder of the valve seal. The spring and everything just fits just inside the opening. Get that on there, come on, there we go. So that just fits in there perfectly, and now you can tap this onto the head. So what I'll do is put a little bit of engine oil around the valve guides, or sorry, the valve guides, and I'm doing actually the intake and the exhaust are all the same. So I'll go around and lube up all the tops of the valve guides. It'll help this go on, and hopefully it just presses on. Sometimes you got to tap them on. This is just tap it with a mallet, but hopefully it'll just slide on. Sometimes they just slide on. Let's see what happens here. I don't know if that went all the way on. Let's give it a little tap here. See if it moves. Nope, that's it. It's all the way on. They just press on nicely. So yeah, I'll just go around and install all the valve seals. Okay, that's all the valve seals in. The next thing I'll do is start installing valves. So I'm going to start with the exhaust valves. So all I'm going to do is put a little bit of oil on the valve stems, put the valves into the head this way, and then I'll use my valve spring compressor and start putting the valves on. This is a long process, but you got to be really careful that the spring doesn't let go on you, and your little valve keepers, they're called valve collets. Hopefully they don't fly away on you. But anyway, let's get that done. All right, it's the next day, and let's get these valves put in. So what I've got is a valve spring compressor. I've got all my valve springs, the keepers, and what they call the collets. I've got a little dab of grease and a couple of a pick and a screwdriver. I use this pick. I've actually held this against a magnet so that it's slightly magnetized, and I'll show you the reason why I do all that. All right, I'm gonna try my best to get this on camera. It's pretty tight, but anyway, what I've got is the valve spring is compressed, and you can see the valve stem is sticking out. And as you know, there's a groove in the valve stem. So to put the keepers in there and have them stay is actually quite difficult. So what I do, I take my screwdriver, I put a little bit of grease on it, and I put the grease just a little bit on the valve stem. And what that does is it helps the keeper will actually stick to the grease. So I can put the valve keepers or the collets on, and yeah, the grease will hold it, and then I can release the spring. All right, you can see down there, I've got the keepers on, so now I can release the spring and the valve will be installed. And there you go. I didn't bother showing that, but there it's installed. So I'm going to carry on and do all these valves, all the intake valves, and then the head will be more or less assembled. All right, so that's got all the valves installed. So the next thing to do on the head is install all the, I guess you call them the cam followers. Will go in, and then I'm gonna drop the camshafts in, and then I gotta take a feeler gauge and measure my clearances, and hopefully I don't have to grind anything. But if I do, no, that's not the end of the world. But that's gonna be just about it. But before I sign this video off, I've got some information on these connecting rod bearings. All right, so the connecting rod bearings, as you know, they didn't fit because the little tabs were on the wrong side. This is the one that I got, and this is an original one. Not only are the tabs on the wrong side, but the original ones are 18 millimeters wide, and the ones that I got are 16 millimeters wide. So I've reached out to a supplier actually in the Philippines of all places, and they say they have come across this same issue, and they are confused as much as I am with their stock. They don't know which is which. My supplier, he has also just recently run into this issue, it sounds like. So I don't know if there's a bad stock that's sort of infiltrated the supply system, But in the research that I've done, it sounds like the older K6A engines have got the narrow ones, and the newer engines have got the wide ones, so that have got the tab on the right side. So there's another place I got to call on. It's the weekend right now, but on Monday I'm going to be calling another supplier down in the States that does a lot of rebuilds on this, and I'm going to see if they can shed some light on what the issue is here. Because really I can't go too terribly much farther until I can get these pistons and rods installed. So yeah, there you go. More to come on that. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you picked up some little tips on putting these valves inside. It's a long process, but it's important to get it all done right, have things all clean, get those seats all nice. If your seats are really bad, then you're going to have to get them to a machine shop and get them ground. I have found from the engines I've rebuilt, if they're not too bad, just a little lap, it seems to work just fine. Good compression on the engines I've done. So anyway, that's going to do it for today. The next video, hopefully I'll have some information, and we'll get going on these pistons and whatnot. So thanks a lot for watching. Thoughts and comments down below. And yeah, think about subscribing if you haven't already. I'm up over 1,200 subscribers. Appreciate all of you, each and every one of you. And I also appreciate all the comments. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and have yourself a great day.